At the Office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into The Office, the show where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Erik, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, John and Noah, and you can join us at The Office as well. Send us a comment on YouTube, on Facebook, or on X, or you could text or call the show at 216-260-3433. That's 216-260-3433. John, Noah, how are we doing tonight, fellas?
Doing great, brother. It's good to be with you guys. It is freezing cold, but we got more winter behind us than ahead of us. Pitchers and catchers have reported, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are coming into the playoff push, brother. It's good to be with you. I'm excited to talk some sports. How you doing, Noah?
I'm feeling good, man. We're talking Cleveland Cavaliers a little bit. Rumor has it Javonte Green, nice back-of-end bench addition for the Cleveland Cavaliers in the buyout market coming our way. Feeling really good about it, feeling excited, but we'll see how much he really contributes to the team, right? I think we're pretty well set in our ways after the DeAndre Hunter trade. I'm just feeling good. I'm in a good mood. I've been excited for this show all week because I love talking sports with you two gentlemen. Erik, buddy, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, I'll echo what you're saying. I'm so excited. I miss Cavs basketball. I was watching UConn women's before we got on here. And as much as I love my Beckers and my UConn girls basketball, it's not quite the same as the Cavs, so I can't wait to have us back. That said,
I'm with you real quick. I'm sorry, man. I go through my ups and downs of being super excited with my Cavs part-time job. And I'm so excited to get back there on Friday for another game just because of the energy around the team. So I'm totally with you I'm excited for the Cavs to be back and to have some Cleveland sports to watch, man.
I will tell you one word to the wise. Enjoy the ride. I know a lot of times with a team this good, you're like, well, let's just get to the playoffs and let's just get through the first round so we can just get to Boston and see if we make the finals. Slow down. Shit could go sideways in a hurry in sports and in this town. Just enjoy it. Take it one game at a time and enjoy watching them play.
Wise advice. Speaking of, though, are we home Friday based on what you just said?
Friday, New York Knicks, national TV, baby. Let's get after it.
And it's home. I was just surprised because we play Brooklyn Thursday and it's a back-to-back and that we have to come back here. I just assumed we were in New York.
No, it's a home game Friday night against the Knicks, baby.
Interesting. All right, let's get into it. We have such a fun show plan. John, what do we have for our first segment, 30-second takes?
Yeah, we got all kinds of good stuff coming up for everybody tonight. We'll get into the main topics later, but first one was a little bit of news coming out of All-Star Weekend. I'm sure you guys have seen the clip by now if you weren't watching it live. Victor Wembanyama, Chris Paul just went through this whole thing where they're just like chucking balls everywhere to try to beat the competition. If you haven't seen it, long story short, there's something that says if you don't make the shots at the points in the skills competition where you have to shoot, that you have to take at least 3 shots. But it doesn't say anywhere how accurate or how well-intentioned you have to be when doing it. So instead of wasting time to try to sink a shot, they just took 3 balls off the rack and threw them and ran to the next obstacle. The question I have for you guys, was it cheating? I know you got a clip. Why don't you show it to everybody who didn't see it, and then we'll get into it.
For sure. Let's get after it.
Oh, he's not even worried about the shot. They were just going for time. Look at this. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Now, I wonder if everyone is going to adopt this.
Wait a minute. The crowd is unsettled.
Yes.
The rules are being shot. There's some boos.
A lot of boos.
I love C&D, Mitch, giving the thumbs down.
It was fantastic. That I'll wait until my 30-second take goes, but I'm going to spin it off of that for sure.
All right. Who's going first on third? I'll go first. What the hell? Put me on the clock.
Go for it,
man, coach.
No, it's not cheating because the rules didn't say not to do it. If they were too dumb to think of it, then congratulations to Chris Paul and Wemby for thinking strategically about how to win the game. I like the fact that they didn't because Donovan Mitchell was sitting there, and I think they got the win instead. So kudos to the Cavs, but no, I don't think it's cheating if you can exploit and extort a rule. It's on the rule makers to make better rules. I didn't have any problem with what they did. I thought they should have let it count.
John, you got to pick who's up next, man.
Erik. Eric's gonna go.
All right,
next.
get that clock up there because
you'll do our first.
I'll use my time to say that Chris Paul is one of the most underratedly unlikable guys in the NBA. He's constantly whining. He's practically invented the flop. That's why they changed the rules on a shooting foul. And yet he constantly tries to bend or break the rules. Glad that this guy has never gotten a ring. He doesn't deserve one. Yes, it was cheating. And most of all, it was cheating the fans. The fans expected more of a show to go out there and compete. It's already a terrible event, and we got that. Terrible.
Guess that leaves me, right? So
this
is my exact reaction to that whole thing. Exactly what Donovan Mitchell was saying, because look, it's cool. It's great, John. I share the sentiment. They came up with a brilliant idea, whatever, or a lame idea. The whole issue with NBA All-Star Weekend right now is that it's boring and lame. So having the youngest star and one of the oldest stars in the league go out there and just make one of the competitions look absolutely piss poor, totally not worth it, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with either of your takes. I just don't think by letter of the law it was cheating because there's no rule that says you can't do it. I think it sucked for fans. I think it was kind of Bush League. I think it was dumb and made a lame weekend even lamer. All of that is true.
Bush League is the way of putting it. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, that's brilliant. I mean, they're just trying to do it as quick as possible. When I realized that you don't have to make the shot, that doesn't matter at all, I thought these guys are smart. But the more I thought about it, it's not doing any service to the fans watching it. Nobody wants to see that. They're just out there. I don't know. I didn't like it at all, and they deserve the booze that they got.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was funny in the moment. And then I don't know if you guys saw the clip. I didn't pull this clip, but of the reporter trying to go over and interview the both of them about it. And the NBA, like, higher up was like, go away, because they were so actually upset with Chris Paul and Wemby for coming up with whatever idea it was. And you know what the funny part is, Erik? I know you're throwing shade at Chris Paul, and you can have your own hate for him. I don't personally have the hate that you do for Chris Paul, but it has been abundantly said in the media that it was Victor Wembanyama's idea to do that.
That's fine. I mean, I believe that. That's fine. No big deal. But Chris Paul is just a really hateable guy. He's just an asshole to everybody, and he always has been. I don't know why anybody likes him. Like, other players in the league do not like him, and there's a reason for it.
John,
I don't
what
like
do you
him
think
because I think he's overrated. So I'm in the middle, but I'm closer to Erik. And there's no reason, right? There's some people who you think have. I remember when JJ Redick played at Duke, and as a North Carolina fan, I was like, I'm going to punch this dude in the face. And people are like, why? And I'm like, I don't have a good reason. That's just how I feel.
He's like Chris Paul, nicest guy to play at Duke.
Yeah, probably is. Grant Hill's a pretty nice guy. But anyway, I digress. I hate all Dukies because I'm a North Carolina fan. It elicits the same kind of response for me for Chris Paul. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Cliff Paul on the damn State Farm commercials all the time. I don't know if it's them saying, oh, my God, Chris Paul is the best point guard in the league the whole time. I was like, what about like Curry and Kyrie? And people are just giving it to Chris Paul because, guys in the know, there's just something about him where I was like, if he was all that good, he won a championship. I wasn't a huge Wake Forest fan. Like, maybe it's one of 70 things, but I'm mostly with you, Erik. I wouldn't say I hate him, but I could definitely do without him. I don't root for Chris Paul wherever he goes.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate him. It's a strong word that we throw around loosely sometimes, but I think that clip of him when he's laughing along with Steve Kerr and he turns and he instantly is like, oh, I'm so fake. I think that sums him up in a nutshell. He's just a fake dude.
It's interesting to me because my perception of Chris Paul is different, and maybe it's like the age gap thing. I don't know personally, because I think of like the Banana Boat crew. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The pipe dream
Bosch
of Chris Paul, Bosch, LeBron, Melo, and Wade all playing together. That get I think of that as like the biggest NBA what if, and Chris Paul being a part of that and wanting to see that on a court, it would have been utter dominance at the time at a certain time period. But that's
I don't think hot insider take. I've heard talked with a couple guys who know a few guys. I don't think it was ever close to happening, but if it was going to happen, it was going to happen in Cleveland. When LeBron decided to finally go to Miami, he was trying to get Wade and Bosh to come to Cleveland because of some deals and some things and the potential of the future of Carmelo Anthony. And some guys said, I'm not going to Cleveland. But yeah, they said if the banana boat thing was going to happen, the most likely landing spot was actually Cleveland.
I love how everybody just knows saying banana boat, what the hell you're talking about. It's funny as hell to me still to this day. And I was young when that was a thing. The original picture was taken.
Mm-hmm. What was the other boat? What was the Minnesota Vikings boat one? The boat ride?
No idea.
No clue. That's before. Oh, you're talking about like when all the players went and got really drunk and partied.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I forget what it's called, but I know exactly what you're talking
okay,
about.
thank you. I was like, man, I look crazy on live TV.
Gentlemen, we are so far off track. I want to move us on. But first, we have a sponsor. At the Office is sponsored by D&D Meadery, the finest mead in Northeast Ohio. Noah's holding it up right now. Derek and Dominic are twin brothers that have a passion for craftsmanship, and they took that love for winemaking straight from their ancestors in Germany, and they brought it here to share with all of us. It's in their blood, centuries of tradition, now bottled up for you to enjoy, and they're not just making mead, they're bringing an ancient drink back to life, one pour at a time. And let me tell you, we're holding up, this is their gold-winning honey wine that we're holding right now. It is the real deal, guys. It's fantastic. John doesn't have a bottle because he drank all of his stock. He needs to order more, but it's really good.
Did place an order.
Oh, lovely.
So maybe next show. Yeah. I got a little comment because I couldn't get enough. The honey flavor, we always talk about the distilling. We don't got to go into it, but the natural sugar and the taste of the honey comes through. It's so good. I wish they sold it by the gallon.
Do me a favor. When you finish the bottle like I have, fill it back up with water so that you can show it on the show like we're doing.
Literally, dude. Literally.
Here's the best part.
I'm an authentic guy. I feel like the fans know.
Your fake sips of your coffee. Here's the best part. If you use code @theofficeCLE when you order, that's @the-officeCLE, you'll get an extra 5% off your order. And if you order 2 or more bottles, you'll get this free shot glass as well. Show them the shot glass, Noah. There it is. I got it somewhere here too. Cool shot glass. Visit dndmeadery.org. You can order there and put in that code. You can also find a retail location near you where you can purchase. Must be 21 or older. Please drink responsibly. It's so good. Let me just tell you. It is. We're not just blowing smoke. It is so good. All right. Talked about it. We have an awesome show ahead. John, what do we have first?
So unfortunately, we've returned to one of the places that as a child was just perpetually our Super Bowl. And that's the Cleveland Browns draft in the top 5 picks because they sucked last year and they're probably going to suck next year. And we don't need to go down the rabbit hole the last 25 years. But we do have a big question. We have the 2nd overall pick. There's only going to be one player off the board out of every single human being draft eligible out of college. The Browns are only going to have one person gone when they get to pick. And I'm getting a lot of stuff. I've been on X. I still can't get used to saying I've been on X. Or
it's awful.
I know. It is horrible for sure.
I'm not going to turn political, but do something about that, Elon. There's 2 options here that I'm kind of getting from social media and the people in the know. There's a third that's trade down. I don't think that's all that feasible or likely. It could happen. But there's the question of, do we go quarterback? And if so, is it Shedeur Sanders? On all likelihood, it sounds like yes. On the other side, there's tried and true. I get Myles Garrett feels. I also get big money Gerard Warren feels. Abdul Carter. Where do we go? So first thing I wanted to talk with you guys about tonight is with the 2nd overall pick in the draft, where do the Browns go and why? Noah, why
Can we
don't you get us
pause real
started?
quick, John?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
real quick, because I want to shout poolside Pat for the shout on the Hartford Yard Goats. Yeah, hell yeah, that's a Hartford Yard Goat hat. These guys know it. I'm really into minor league hats right now, because they're alternate identity. You'll see it on the show for the coming months. Different hats constantly from me, but this by far is one of the best in the game. This is their actual original hat. It's not an alternate identity or anything, and it's so good. I had to debut it today.
Nothing beats the Akron Rubber Duck, but I agree.
I
One
was
of the
gonna
best
say, and
brands
if
in
you-
minor league baseball.
And if you know Erik, you know he doesn't do anything halfway. If he says he's in on minor leagues hats, it's not just going to be Paul Tuckett and Akron. He's going to have the Cucamongan, Jack Rabbit, Low A Pioneer League. Like he'll
I've
get
got
in
a
there.
list that's so long. So long.
I follow the MILB. I know we're getting off track, but real quick, I follow the MILB on Facebook, and I consistently send Erik new rebrands as they post them on Facebook. So
This dude's just trying to spend my money. He literally constantly sends them.
It's because we have the same hat size. So anyone that doesn't fit you or you don't like or you want to get rid of, I can just have at that point. Right, buddy?
I mean, I guess I see the logic there. All right, let's
Fair
get
enough.
back to it.
Yeah, draft. Not to derail the hat combo. I got a bunch of them up here too. I just don't have one on tonight. Noah, you're GM. You're on the clock. You're the Cleveland Browns. Difference between life and death, playing well and not. Who you taking and why at number 2?
Yeah. Actually, hold on. Wait, I got you.
Music.
Yeah.
Yes.
The answer is Abdul Carter. And it's for multiple reasons. Real quick, before I forget, I want to shout out Poolside Pat again for saying we have a great show. We appreciate you watching us. The answer is Abdul Carter. I get the logic. I get the thought process of, we need to get a quarterback. We've always been a quarterback away. We need to go get a quarterback. You know what happens when you go and you just reach and grab a quarterback in a draft that has been touted by multiple experts now? That is not a good quarterback draft. You end up with Kenny Pickett. You end up with Malik Willis as your starting quarterback. He's a good backup for Green Bay now, don't get me wrong. And that was a 3rd-round pick, let me add. If it isn't a good quarterback class, you don't force it. And I think that is the sentiment that a lot of Browns fans, myself included, because I've bought in, I've bought out, I've been in and out, off and on, whatever you want to say with Shedeur, and Cam for that matter. Listen, I think both of these guys have a chance, right? But you're talking about being able to replace Myles Garrett, not fully with Abdul Carter. There's no replacing Myles Garrett. But getting one of those cornerstone pieces you need in a year where there's ample space to go and get them. The pick is Abdul Carter, in my opinion. I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, so I'm ready to hear what you guys have.
I can't disagree more. I cannot disagree more.
Let's go,
First of
E.
all, you're talking about going and getting a guy to even say he's going to replace Myles Garrett. That's
I did
nuts.
not say that. I did not say that. I said he was going to be a filler in the position. I said there is no replacing.
A cornerstone moving forward.
That's
First
what
of all,
this guy's being
Abdul
touted
Carter
as.
is not a generational talent.
That's crazy.
No, and I were. What do you mean that's crazy? A generational means once in a generation. That guy is Myles Garrett. It's the same generation.
Okay. I digress.
DJ Watt.
I concede on that. Continue.
Slightly different. Yeah. My point, though, is that we had that once in a generational player in Myles Garrett. It didn't win us ball games. So to replace him with a smaller framed edge rusher and say, well, we might miss on quarterback, absolutely not. My second point is that Myles Garrett is still a Cleveland Browns player. I know he wants out, but we don't know how this is going to shake out yet. He's got 2 years left on this contract. Let's just say we draft Shedeur Sanders, and for some reason he's playing his ass off for us, and we're a bubble playoff team. Maybe Myles rethinks this whole thing. He's frustrated right now, and he's acting out of his frustration, and I know we've talked about it on the show. We're sick of him, et cetera, but that doesn't mean anything. He is still under contract. There is no replacing Myles Garrett, period, but there's also no replacing him right now because he's not gone. With Shedeur, I've been on record saying I'm not a huge fan. It has nothing to do with his talent, though. I think the talent side there's a lot of upside there. It has to do with the circus that has surrounded him and the family. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not sure why we're just on John. Let's pop that back out. He is a baller, though. So at the one position you need to succeed, why not take a flyer on the guy? I get it. You're going to say, let's take a flyer in the 3rd or 4th round. I get what you're saying, but if we don't have a quarterback next year, we're not winning football games, period. Abdul Carter sure as hell is not going to help us to win a football game.
You guys both said stuff that's really good. I want to jump in real quick, Noah, and then with my take, because Erik hit half of it, you hit half of it. I want to bring it together and then hear what else you have to add. I agreed with parts of both of your takes, but I'm definitely closer to Erik on this one. First thing I'll say is that we need a quarterback. We've had Myles Garrett. We've sucked with Myles Garrett. You've heard me say it before. We went 0-16 with Myles. Even if he's a generational talent, we can get a great defensive end. I am of the rare opinion that defensive end is slightly overrated. A pass rusher, a man of the front four who can push the line and you can get pressure on a quarterback without blitzing is important. But, like, the Eagles got 4 dudes who could kind of do it and won a Super Bowl. Like, name me the great defensive end on the New England Patriots or even with good defenses. Who was the Baltimore Ravens' great defensive end? They had good guys, but Ed Reed and Haloti Ngata and Ray Lewis. There were so many other players.
Seahawks.
Yeah, Seahawks. I was just going to say Richard Sherman, LOB, Legion of Boom, baby. That's what that defense was.
You're talking about a whole different level of the linebackers and corners and safeties there. That was just an insane back.
But I have seen this team with that level of defensive end suck bad a lot. So I'm not all in on the defensive tackle. So I say Shedeur Sanders. Other thing you said, Noah, that I disagree with is, like, the experts say that this isn't a deep class. Well, the experts are wrong a lot. They said Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning, it's a toss-up. Doesn't matter who you take. Well, it mattered, right? Like, every year there's somebody who's good. Washington Commanders get really good because they get a good quarterback. Somebody else doesn't because they don't. Right. Wasn't supposed to be a good draft for quarterbacks, and there's somebody there. Do your job, do your research, find your guy, draft him, and you're not going to win in this league without a quarterback. We have to have a quarterback. And the only thing I disagree with you on, E, if he has the talent, who cares about the circus? You took Deshaun Watson and paid a big roster, the most in NFL history, for him to suck and be hurt all the time and have 30 women come out of the closet and say he did nasty things to them. You think Deion Sanders' son being here is going to be a media circus? Like, we had LeBron twice, and he came back to Cleveland. Like, bring on the circus. If the dude can ball, let's just do it.
I don't disagree with you. That's where I was. I've moved past that. I'm all in at this point.
Gotcha. Noah, you were going to jump in.
Yeah, my thing is, here's my first counting point. When we talk about a bad NFL draft class for quarterback, name me one time an expert has been wrong there in the last 20 years. Name me a draft class where they're like, this is a bad quarterback draft class, and they were wrong.
They probably said it last year with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
No, they did not. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. The only person that was a question mark in that whole top half was Michael Penix and Bo Nix, which Bo Nix had a good season. I get it.
They
totally.
They said that the Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield draft wasn't as loaded as quarterback. They said one of these guys.
That's not true. There was 5 guys in the first round that were going in the first round there.
So I guess rephrase the question, because there's going to be 4 quarterbacks to go in the first round this year too. That doesn't mean.
No, there's not. There's going to be 2, maybe. Yes, I can't say maybe.
Shedeur and
that's it. Who else is going in the first round?
I think it's probably just those 2.
You want to bet a meatball?
I'll bet 2 meatballs. You can pay for my meal.
Shake, shake, shake.
Shake, shake, shake.
You don't think in the entire rest of the first round of this draft that a single quarterback is going to go off the board?
Watch what's going to happen. Now that I said that, someone's going to have an absolute stellar combine and someone's going to climb to the back end. I already shook
My
on
point.
it. I'm not going back on it.
Listen,
But
I think we're getting off track though.
Yeah, no, the point of what I'm saying, you don't just take a swing when you have the level of talent that is at the front end of this draft. There are plenty of players. If it's not Abdul Carter, fine. What about Travis Hunter? What about Mason Graham? There are plenty of players here.
What's the point? You're going to have Joe Thomas on a losing team for the next 10 years? That's
the point
ridiculous.
is we're going rebuild, Eric.
We're not. That's the point. The Browns said unequivocally they're not going rebuild. Now, I think they're full of shit and they don't know what they're doing. So let's not go down that line. If we are actually rebuilding, then rebuild and go ahead and start taking other players. But I am telling you, the Cleveland Browns have had a Pro Bowler at every damn position except quarterback since we've been back, and we have sucked. I've watched Braylon Edwards and Kellen Winslow and David Njoku and list. Anthony Henry, Dalen McCutcheon, Josh Cribbs. I've watched people. Phil, goddammit, Dawson. We've had punters who should be in the Hall of Fame. We have had great players.
His face is getting as red as his jersey right now.
We have had great players at every position in this football team except quarterback, and this is what it's got you. So keep taking goddamn defensive tackles and defensive ends, and when we go 3 and everything again next year, I'm going to go, how did that work out? Even though
bingo, but hold on. We have a comment on – hold on. We have a question on Instagram. Michael said, what's your guys' take on the fact that Colorado didn't beat any ranked teams?
That's a part of it too. That goes right back into my argument is the level of quarterback that you can get. You've got to look more farsighted than just next season. They're going to suck next season. We should all accept that already. And if we have to track Kirk Cousins, Jacoby Brissett, Kyle Trask, who cares? That's totally fine. But you need to when you get to a position where you have the number 2 pick, you don't draft off a positional need. You draft off of what is the best player available. And in any other draft other than 2025, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders are not top 10 picks. They are mid to late round first rounders.
For the record, what you stated is not fact. There are 2 philosophies. You either take a positional need or you take the best talent available. That's the 2 general philosophies going into a draft. Listen, first of all, in regards to them, Colorado not beating ranked teams, it takes 11 guys. So that doesn't bother me. I don't think that Travis Hunter should be as valued. You're talking about potentially him over Shedeur. I think that's crazy, honestly, especially for a guy that's not playing both ways in the league.
Heisman over a guy who didn't perform.
The Heisman does not mean anything. Troy Smith won the Heisman Trophy. Where's he at in NFL records?
Charlie Ward wouldn't play for them.
I want to know where you guys are sipping the Shedeur Kool-Aid because I apparently need some because I don't get what we're so in love with.
Because we're not in love. I think you're missing the point. The point isn't we're in love. The point is stop doing dumb shit and do something that's going to make a difference. If we have the best, I swear to God, if Abdul Carter is Lawrence Taylor, the Browns win no more games next year. And the reason I know that for a fact is we have him on this team. His name is Myles Garrett, and we didn't win any more games this year. We were terrible. So instead of going around and going, oh, this is great. Oh, this is great. We can get this good guy and this and this and this. There is one position in NFL football that's the difference between being a Super Bowl contender and not, and it's quarterback. If you have one, you can win. If you don't, you can't. So I don't care how good Abdul Carter is. If Abdul Carter is the greatest defensive lineman in the history of the league, I would rather take Shedeur because if he's even decent, we're back. And if Abdul Carter's a Hall of Famer, we're not. That's where I'm at.
So you're telling me, both of you, you would rather take a swing at a Shedeur Sanders, a Cam Ward, and it blow up in your face completely. Deshaun Watson 2.0 minus the off-the-field baggage, right? Because I don't think either of those guys have poor character. You would rather do that than add a piece that helps you with your future when you can go into a draft like next year and add a quarterback from a class that is more perceived and can be 10 times the quarterbacks that we're looking at this year.
Who? Aller? You want the guy from Penn State that isn't clutch? I mean, come on. It's a swing no matter what when you're talking quarterback. That's the reality. And you guys are also forgetting that there's two sides of this coin. Goal 1A is to win. Goal 1B is to sell shit. It's to sell merchandise. It's to sell ass and seats. And they do that better with Shedeur.
That's true too. That is true. No, I'm not saying you're crazy. What I'm saying is I have watched the Browns draft with your strategy for a long time and never get anywhere. I would just take a quarterback until we find a quarterback. I wouldn't be kicking guys out left and right, but it's just amazing to me how much people can go into a draft in Cleveland and say things like Abdul Carter could be a generational talent, but then run Baker out of town when we had a decent quarterback to go for. Like, we're always chasing at quarterback, and we're so happy to have the second best tight end in the AFC North. Like, we have to have a top 5 quarterback in the NFL to have a shot, period, the end. Abdul Carter doesn't play quarterback.
You can find these guys. Take a quarterback every goddamn year for all I care until you get the right one.
I'm with you.
Right, but I think the thought process of just taking a quarterback here to take a quarterback is flawed when you're in a position where you are looking at a rebuild, dead in the face. You could say in the media, we're not rebuilding, we're not trading Miles, we're not doing this, that, and the other. We've talked about this on the show, and we've all agreed that it's bullshit.
But there's a caveat there. If you are a guy away, if you think the roster can compete, but we have no quarterback, then they're in a weird, like, they're in the upside down Stranger Things universe, because what are you supposed to do? You have potentially a roster to compete, but if you don't have a quarterback, you need to be in a rebuild. So they need to pick a lane, basically, and stick with it.
So, and this is how I'd rephrase your own question back to you, Noah. Let's just say you could have one of these two players. They could both be good or they both suck, but let's say they're both good. If you have Abdul Carter and he's as good as you think, how many more games do the Browns win next year?
I don't care about next year.
Now, if you have Shedeur Sanders and he's good, how many more games do the Browns win next year?
They're probably a playoff team. I get your point. I'm with you on that side of it.
So you would rather suck and not go to the playoffs. You're
talking about putting together a parlay with like plus 200 odds, or putting together a parlay with plus 2,000 odds.
How does drafting Abdul Carter set us up for organizational success in the future? Because we've seen it. We've done it with Miles. We've done it with Joe Thomas again and again. And I won't name them all because John already did. So we've been down that path. So it doesn't get us any closer to the goal.
That goes into the organizational dysfunction that is the Cleveland Browns. And they have shown to me, whether you like Andrew Berry, you like Kevin Stefanski, you hate them, you want them fired, whatever, that they are committed to trying to not be an organizational mess that fires people after one bad season, right? Now, if they have a bad season next year, they're both gone. I agree on that too. But I firmly believe adding a piece like Abdul Carter to a roster that is looking to compete, not right now at Huntington Bank Field on the lakefront, but Huntington Bank Field by by the airport, with that being their goal, you add a guy like Abdul Carter for the future. You're thinking in the future. You can't think about next season when you have the second overall pick. You have the second overall pick because you suck.
I feel like you contradicted. I think you contradicted yourself a minute there, because you said if these two guys don't have a great next season, they're gone. So let's draft for 6 years from now. That's not how they're going to go into this draft.
Right. But you're talking about when you go through a quarterback with multiple different coaches and stuff like that, they tend not to pan out. Look at how long it took Baker to be where Baker is at this point.
Not here. Nope. We had Baker Mayfield, PJ Tucker, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco all come in on a carousel and play meaningful football, good football, and winning football. It was not different coach. It was Kevin Stefanski.
I'm talking about switching coaches, John. I'm not talking about different quarterbacks. I'm talking about switching coaches. When you switch coaches often in the NFL, you tend to not see success in the quarterback position. That doesn't tend to work out. They tend
It
to
worked.
falter because they.
Yeah, I feel
You
like
tend
it
to not
worked
see
here,
success,
though.
period.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
You tend to, there's studies out there, you can look at win-loss, but when you change coaching, you don't just get better because it's not coaching. You have a bad team, and that takes draft picks, etc. So I don't think you could put it either way. Listen, I think the three of us, I think two of us are just diametrically opposed in philosophy to how to make this team better. Because preparing for 6 years from now, John and I, we don't think that that does anything. We've seen it. We've tried it. It hasn't worked so far.
But continuously taking a swing at a quarterback is also going to get you that same result. So what does it matter? Why wouldn't you rather get the better prospect?
That is a
Let me
complete
give
total
you
fallacy of thinking. Because you took a swing and missed means that if you swing again, you'll miss. Is like the
sunk
definition
loss.
of a fallacy.
Yeah.
You can win. You can be wrong 99 times. You only have to be right once. And this team just needs a quarterback. You talked about it already, how dysfunctional they feel and sound and look. If we get the next, I'm not even talking about like Tom Brady. If we get the next like Joe Flacco, it's going to feel so different. Not Joe Flacco for the Browns. Joe Flacco when he was in Baltimore, but for Cleveland, like a good quarterback who you can win with. It's going to feel so different and look so different. And Stefanski's going to be so relieved that even in bad years, as long as we're healthy, we're going to be right there. Like we do have the talent on the roster that we did 2 years ago when we competed. Abdul Carter doesn't help.
I guess there's two lines of thinking. The question is, and what Noah's getting at, do you want to be a borderline Pittsburgh team that makes the playoffs but doesn't do anything? I think we all say, I mean, yeah, I want to make the playoffs, but I think we want to win. But let me leave you with one other thought. Before I do, Michael on Instagram said, as a Giants fan, I pray we don't take Sanders at QB.
The Giants fans don't need to talk about quarterback right
I know,
now.
right? There's
I mean,
another
you hit on
wrinkle
Eli,
to this,
but it
though.
hasn't been exactly murderer's row up there either. But fair point. I like it.
There's another wrinkle to this that I want to share with you guys, and that is the fun factor. Hear me out. I'm not a Johnny football fan. You know, I know Noah was a Baker bro. You could talk about how they were bad moves for the organization, but damn it, we had fun along the way. It was fun watching Johnny football. It was fun watching Baker. That's all I want to be entertained. I want to win, but I want to be entertained. So if Shedeur brings that, he can compete and he can make a playoff run and he can entertain me. That's all I want at this point, because we're not in a position to win a Super Bowl anytime soon.
Now, I will say this. If I'm Andrew Berry and I'm looking at it, right, and I wrote about this. I did my second mock draft for Fans for Sports. Make sure you go check that out if you haven't. But if you're looking at this from Andrew Berry's perspective, what pick are you making? Are you taking Shedeur? Or are you taking Abdul Carter, knowing your job's on the line? You're probably taking Shedeur Sanders. So I get that mindset. Like I've been both sides to this. But when you want to think about the future outlook for this team, say I'm in the chair and I know I have 5 years of job security, 10 years, whatever it is, I would rather take Abdul Carter this year and go after a quarterback next year. Yeah, you're burning.
I know
you're
I don't want to
the
get
2020. Let me finish real quick, John.
Yep.
You're burning the 2025 season, but I've burnt so many. This team has burnt so many seasons at this point. You could still take a swing on a guy like Will Howard, who people really like to fit in Kevin Stefanski's offense. I think he is a good fit for Stefanski's offense. Is he a backup? Probably, but we don't know yet. I just think if you're looking at what is best for the future outlook, not exactly the safest, but safer than just taking a swing on a guy that might be a 15th, 16th, 17th, or later overall pick in future drafts, you take the guy that is a bona fide top 5 pick in a majority of drafts. That's just me.
I feel like you're contradicting yourself a little bit on the point, and I'm trying to understand it, not calling you out for semantics, just First of all, no GM, nobody in the National Football League ever in the history of the league has had 5 to 10 years to do anything. So if your thought process
I was
is,
playing devil's advocate there a little bit. You're getting into the you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But I go ahead, E. What were you going to chime in with?
I was just helping Noah out with semantics, but
semantics.
Listen,
I got it now.
If you believe as the Andrew Berry is like the CEO of the team, right? If you believe that you can turn this organization around, that you are one of the key pieces to organizational success, then he's going to have to take Shedeur to stick around. If it would be worse, he takes Abdul, they suck, we fire Stefanski, we fire Berry, then I think that's worse for the organization, honestly. I'm looking at a real macro level here.
Yep.
You're in
100%.
favor of taking a swing at Shedeur. I don't know. You could get volatile and we could go back and forth with this all day. We basically already have, right? Where does it exactly fall? Either way, I mean, if Shedeur doesn't pan out, they get fired. Abdul Carter, they probably get fired if they don't win more than 5. It's a tough situation to be in. Hence why I say if I'm Andrew Berry, I'm probably taking the swing at Shedeur, hoping it saves my job. If I'm looking at it from the outside in with the knowing of job security that you don't get in the NFL, but in this scenario, I have it. Is that better for you now, John?
Sounds good, buddy. You know me, words matter. I will say
then I would take Abdul Carter. That is my point.
Michael on Instagram Live said Abdul Carter all the way and sign Cousins who will ball out in Stefanski offense. I don't completely disagree with that.
No,
the key there is signing Cousins.
So there were two things I was going to wrap up with real quick just for my piece of this. One is we're talking about this in a vacuum. If the Browns convince Myles Garrett to stay, I might say, yeah, let's get Kirk Cousins and draft Abdul Carter and see if we can get 2 outside run. So I'm not against that. Conversely, if we know Myles is gone, I think the quarterback becomes even that much more important. But Erik said one thing in passing that I think is really important, or at least I wanted to call out. And he said, well, the question is, do you want to be like a franchise like the Steelers where you're kind of middling and close and in the playoffs? And the answer, if you're a Browns fan, I think has to be yes. That is not the end goal. And to Noah's point, if I knew I was going to get 5 to 10 years as a Browns GM, I would not do that. But if somebody said you could be the Steelers for the next 3 years and win 10, 11, 12 games and compete for playoff positions, that's so much better than what we just watched this year. That's how you grow a franchise. You don't go from 3 wins to the Super Bowl. You go from 3 to 7, 7 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to AFC Championship, and then you get over the hump. I would kill to be the Pittsburgh Steelers for the next 3 years. Not the next 30 and not the next 5. But if we could guarantee ourselves 500 as a bare bottom basement with Shedeur Sanders for the next 3 years, sign me up yesterday, 100%.
And competing for the North, by the way. I mean, don't leave that piece out.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. No, finish your thought.
No, I was just gonna say, you guys have any other thoughts? We've kind of
spent
quite a bit of time on this one.
Yeah.
No, and that's totally fine. Now, let me ask you this real quick. We got go grab a guy like Kirk Cousins. Are you off of the Shedeur train?
No.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, that's interesting. I
could be talked off of it easier, but I don't know. How old is Kirk Cousins?
It
30.
fills your gap for the idea of what I'm saying.
You have a couple
He's in his
years.
later 30s. Yeah, but it fills the gap. You fill the gap hoping that you get the guy in 2026 that is the actual answer to the franchise. I was just curious
if we got Kirk Cousins, I don't think that drafting Shedeur is an absolute no-go. I would be less adamant about it for sure, but I would if they said we got Cousins and we're still drafting Shedeur, I wouldn't be like idiots.
But Kirk Cousins, Abdul Carter paired with Myles Garrett, like you were saying, I prefer that all day. Can they get that across the line is the question. Gentlemen, any final thoughts on this one before I take us to break?
So we We could go
I
another
think we
4
covered it.
hours.
We covered it pretty well. All right. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned because we have a really fun segment coming up, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to At the Office. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and check us out on Instagram and TikTok. Shout out to Fans First Sports, our parent network. We couldn't do this without their support. And get in on the action. Get some At the Office merch. I know you guys have some merch right there. There's a coffee cup. It's cold out there. Get something cozy. Go to attheofficecle.com. That's attheofficecle.com. All right. We have something fun that we put together. John, why don't you lead us in and give us an idea of what we're doing?
Yeah, and typically I would tee it up with a little bit of background and history and how this came about, what was going on. This was random as it gets. We were sitting around one day talking about something months ago. Shit blew up at the NBA trade deadline, the NFL, the Super Bowl, Travis Kelce, Pat Mahomes, three-peat. Like, we just couldn't get it in, which is great because there's no such thing as a bad week in sports when there's news. But we were talking, like, back before it was 6 degrees outside, about the role refs play in games. You got the Tim Donaghy thing. As Browns fans, we always remember every bad call we ever got from every season because they're always out to get us. We were like, what are the worst, right? And maybe the best, but like when you think about over the course of your sports fandom, what are the best and worst moments for refs? Because I always was taught, I reffed hockey when I was little, and I reffed really little kids when I was like 12, 13, 14. But even from a young age, they go, the best refs are like offensive linemen. They don't know your name. They don't talk about you. You go out and do your job, and there's no reason to know that, that's Angel Hernandez behind the plate because you do your job at a high enough level that you never get mentioned. So the goal is to not be infamous if you're a ref. But we know it happens. And with that in mind, the question is, and Erik, I'll have you go first on this one. What are the worst and best referee calls and moments in sports history for you?
So the way that I looked at this, I wanted to pull one from each of the 3 major leagues. Sorry, hockey, I left you out, but America has 3 major sports leagues, so I chose one from each. The first one, I'm going to get mad just talking about this because this has been stuck in my craw since 2018. The Browns are playing the Raiders. It's at Oakland. You got the baseball field on the field, the old Oakland, before they were in Vegas. And they had wrapped this game up. They essentially needed a first down in order to finish out the game. And Carlos Hyde, the Ohio State running back, was the Browns' back at the time. He gets a first down. It's called a first down on the field. Game over, right? Well, they review it. They call it back. He was short of the line to gain. And the game would eventually go into overtime, and the Browns would lose. It was like a 42-40 kind of game. Like, it was a massive scoring game. It was interesting. I want Noah to roll this clip. First of all, I apologize for the quality because I think the NFL has scrubbed the internet of this so that nobody can see it. But thankfully, we have a Browns fan out there that recorded his TV, so we have the clip. Let's roll it.
Change is enough to change it. That's just Carlos Hyde fighting. Look at him fight for those extra yards. That's definitely an unofficial line. It's superimposed.
So, as they said on the clip there, the line was unofficial, but they looked at it 10 times. The announcers, he got a first down. It was so clear it was a first down. They review it, not a first down. Raiders go on to win that game. I know, John, you're going to talk about another infamous moment in Cleveland Browns sports refereeing, but how you can have like clear empirical evidence, like that's clear as day. I don't know if you guys disagree with me, but that is clear as day. There was some arm down. You would have to move the angle, but I remember watching it live and being blown away that they blew this call. And it was one of those seasons where, I don't know if you remember the 2018 season, but we were losing every game that we lost by like 3 points. They were all like right
Yes.
there. It was a
Yes.
weird,
Yeah.
It was
like
so
we could have
close.
been. It was such a weird season, and to lose like that because of the refs, I'm still angry about it. Like I'm getting hot thinking about that.
I remember being angry about that moment too. I was watching it. I remember it clear as day. I was watching it at my parents' house. Me, my stepdad, my mom were literally dropping F-bombs at the TV as soon as they were like, this call is overturned. That's the craziest part to me, is the fact that they called it a first down on the field,
Right.
reviewed it, and brought the chain out and said, not turnover on downs or fourth down or whatever the hell it was. And we end up going on to lose that game.
It's nearly as bad as that Michigan game where they gave Michigan the first down when it was clearly short. Like he moved the ball. You guys remember that? And then the whole ball doesn't lie. He fumbled on the next play. It's almost as bad as that.
Yeah.
All right, but imagine you're a basketball player. Let me put you in the shoes, right? Most of us played basketball on the show, at least at a younger level. And when you're on the bench and you're not in at the time, what are you doing? You're yucking it up with your buddies, right? You're watching the game, but you're chatting with, Ben's to my left, Noah's to my right. You're having a good time on the bench. I want you to imagine that you're having that good time on the bench and you're laughing, who knows what about, and all of a sudden you get teed up and thrown out of the game. Noah, roll the clip.
Howard now drives inside right over Alberto, and a blocking foul. As Joey Crawford saying Alberto moving. Hey, Popovich doesn't like that one either. And another technical foul. And this is when Duncan's out of the game. He's thrown Duncan out of the game. Crawford now walking over. That's the second technical, which is an automatic ejection. As we've been showing you, Duncan's been laughing. Maybe Crawford felt he was showing him up by constantly.
I want you to keep in mind that Tim Duncan was one of the nicest guys in the NBA. Great player, but he wasn't like saying F off to the ref before that clip started or anything like that. He's just laughing on the bench and gets teed up and thrown out.
That clip was insane to me. I obviously did not see it in real time. It's just funny to me. It does seem like he's laughing a little bit about a bad call, and the ref, instead of, swallowing his pride as a referee kind of has to as part of the job, takes it out on Tim Duncan and says, nope, you're out for laughing at me, which is crazy either way you spin it.
NBA has had that over the years where the refs take over a game and just eject people for no reason. It seems like they have the most latitude sometimes, which is interesting. There was a part of that clip though too, and I think I was watching that game live too, which is wild. Noah, you missed some really good basketball with those Spurs teams.
For sure.
You had Manu Ginobili as coming off the bench as sixth man that would start for like any team.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they were good.
Part of that clip that I questioned too is towards the end, when the players are kind of standing around like confused and Tim Duncan hasn't left yet. There's a cop that like interjects himself into that scene and is like saying, come here kind of thing. What are you doing? I don't think it's your job to ensure that he's escorted off promptly. I don't know. I found that strange.
It was weird for sure. Just to be clear too, I was around when Manu Ginobili was a part of the team and Tony Parker, and before Kawhi. I do remember some of those teams.
But we're talking you watched about when you were 6.
That I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11. They were starting to go phase out at that point.
I was going to say, to be fair, when the Spurs first came on with Popovich and all those guys, you had to be at least too young to remember it well. If not, yeah, I was like, towards the end for sure. But early on, like.
I remember those teams, though, for sure. Go ahead, Erik.
I got one more, and I think this is the worst referee moment in sports history, honestly. I was a pitcher my whole life. I grew up playing baseball, and when you're a kid, you're in the basement alone. I was an only child, but you're in the basement alone, and you're working on your pitching, and you're pretending that it's normally like Game 7 of the World Series, and it's the final out kind of thing, or maybe you're pretending that you've thrown a perfect game and you have one more out to get. Well, in this case, it was a perfect game, and they got that final out, except maybe not. Roll it.
Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe.
That still pains me to this day, and I do want to give credit to the ump there. Jim Joyce blew that call, and it is what changed. That's what added replay in Major League Baseball. After that, the next year, they implemented it. But to Jim Joyce's credit, he was tearful. I mean, he was so apologetic that he blew that call. It wasn't like trying to interject himself in the moment or anything like that. He just missed it. But to tell you how rare a perfect game is, I still can't believe.
Less than 30,
mad
right?
all over again.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that MLB didn't just retroactively award him the perfect game, because
So they didn't, but they did. Everybody else did. Chevy gave him.
He's not in the record books.
No,
Right.
no.
Where
But
it matters most
Then he
is
doesn't
still
have a
not there.
perfect game. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like saying everybody says.
Slow down. I didn't say it was okay. I didn't say it was right. All I was trying to say was that some company had $1 million bonus to somebody who got a no-hitter. He got the mill. And Chevy said they'd give a Corvette if anybody threw a perfect game, and he got the Corvette. I wasn't going to say it was okay. I was
None
just
of that
gonna
matters.
say it does matter. It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
not-
It's like saying that, you
So
know,
if you don't want
everybody.
$1
Hold on, let me
million
finish.
you don't want $1
Everybody
million
thinks.
in a
I'm
Corvette?
talking.
Hold on,
Everybody
hold on,
thinks.
Hold on.
That's like saying everybody thinks because of extended games, steroids, etc., that Babe Ruth should be the true home run king. Well, he's not. He's no longer in the history books as the home run king. It doesn't matter if they retroactively gave him a Corvette. He's not in the history books. It does not matter.
The main mattering point
The
does not
biggest
matter.
point is the record books. It's not the only point. I think if I said, hey, Eric, would you rather have $1 million in a Corvette or not? You wouldn't say it doesn't matter. But I get what you're saying.
This is a Major League Baseball player.
He probably already had the
think
Corvette.
he probably wanted the record.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm sure he wanted the record.
Worst ref moment in
It was
history.
bad. It was bad.
So I took this a different route. Well, we'll get to the Browns for a second. Of course, the football guys got to spin it back to the Browns before we pass it off to John. Actually, both of mine are from football. This is the worst, best ref moment to me in history. Let me roll the clips.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 7. It's a 10-yard penalty. I'm talking to America here, excuse me. It's a 10-yard penalty and a loss of down. Second down.
That is the best line I've ever heard out of an official. We'll get to the penalty in a minute. He just told Geno Smith, I'm talking to America. Pete Carroll is livid.
I want to
think
know why you think worst best, because I love that clip. I think
it's
awesome.
hilarious. Don't get me wrong, but like I'm talking to America. I don't know. It's just a little corny to me. Like I'm talking to
loved
America.
it. I was
Hold
watching
your
that
cool,
game
man. Hold
live.
Your cool. What? You were at that?
I was
game?
watching that game. I wasn't
Oh.
at it, but I was watching live, and I remember laughing out loud when he did that.
It's definitely funny, and I wanted to take it a lighthearted route before we get back into some of the doom and gloom and pain that we have to deal with the name that is across my forehead and my T-shirt.
That's fair.
So let's go into the next one, right? Because the next one still pains me to this day. I think it was a franchise alterer for the Cleveland Browns. Let me roll the clip.
First half defensively allowed the fewest points, but the Browns are trying to defy that as they hit at the 5 to Higgins. He lost the football as he reached for the pylon, and they ruin a touchback.
That moment, to this day, what was going on in my life, where I was, is still ingrained in my brain. I was sitting in my sophomore year dorm room, drinking way too many beers, watching the game with all the Browns football fan friends that I had. I threw my beer at the wall. I was so upset when they overturned it. Had to clean that whole thing up. And to this day, if that play goes a different way, they call it the targeting, they let the touchdown go, whatever you want to say, I think we are looking at a completely different outlook with this Cleveland Browns team. And it still irks me to this day.
Pinpoint that moment in history
It hurts.
of where the Browns franchise once again fell by the wayside.
John, you're last up for us here. So I'm going to let you talk and tell me when you want me to play the clip, man.
Yeah, I will. I'll tee you up. There were a couple that came to mind while you guys were watching that. The Fail Mary, where there's a clip of one ref saying incomplete while the other one's saying touchdown on the same catch in the same end zone with the Packers. There were a few different things, but the one that sticks, the no-hitter one was awful. That was an abomination. I just felt awful for them. And the Indians were in the game. But the one that sticks with me was one because I was at the game. So let me paint a picture for you. It's become known as Bottlegate. Spoiler alert if you know what that is. But it's week 14. My dad gets tickets from a friend of a friend who's a priest. So it's me, my dad, and a priest at a game. And we're sitting there, and it's just great theater. The Browns have been terrible for a long time. Tim Couch is finally starting to turn the corner with Butch Davis. Browns are 6-6. They need a win to keep their playoff hopes alive. And Tim Couch has been getting killed his whole career, and he actually looked like a functional quarterback. Side note and hot take, I think Tim Couch would have been great if we had a non-expansion team with an offensive line. I think he'd have been a pretty good quarterback. But neither here nor there. We're down 5. There's a minute left, and the Browns had a 4th and 2 in the red zone. It was like the Jaguars' 10. Tim Couch got the pass, dumped it to Quincy Morgan, caught it for a 3-yard gain, goes down, got the first down. We come to the line. We run another play, and we hear whistles after the snap. Now, this was early on in the age of review, and people didn't have it all figured out. But Couch rushed everybody up, got the next play off, and spiked the ball, and only like 20 seconds had run off the clock. The rule is and always has been if the next play starts, you don't get to go back and review the play. We got the play off. We spiked the ball. The refs blew it dead anyway, went and reviewed it for like 40 hours, and then came out and said they had overturned the result of the previous play. It was a turnover on downs, and they gave the ball to the Jaguars. I still remember people call it Bottlegate, and rightfully so because that's most of what was coming down. But I remember people throwing radios, batteries, dog biscuits. Yeah, man. Somebody got not like a boombox, but like the little, pocket radio. Like,
no kidding.
It was. I've been at a lot of rowdy Browns games. I've been at a lot of rowdy Muni lots. I've seen a lot in Cleveland football, and I've never once been like, this is a little scary because I was one of the guys, right? Like, you're not going to get messed up. You're not a Steelers fan. You're not going to get in shit because you're not a Ravens fan. I was like, this is crazy. We were under the overhang on the first level. And had we been out and exposed, we definitely would have bailed. But it was one of the most unbelievable moments in sports history. And they changed rules. They changed how you review. They changed how you buzz refs. They changed how you serve alcohol in pro football stadiums, all because of this one moment in this one game. That was the biggest one for me, was definitely Bottlegate.
Let me play that clip for you, man.
Oh, shit. I forgot. I'm sorry, Noah.
So they say he was juggling the ball. And what Butch Davis is saying right now is we ran another play.
Fortunately, those bottles are plastic.
But these fans aren't helping any right now by throwing stuff on the field. They got to know better than that. And it's frustrating. The players are frustrating as well. And it's ridiculous. You're only hurting yourself by throwing stuff on the field.
And the officials are pummeled as they head into the locker room.
That is still so crazy to me, the scene. I get the frustration, so it's hard to be mad at the fans, but that's also not the way you should act ever, I feel like. I feel like you just don't act like that, but I also totally get the frustration there.
I don't know, man. Say some one thing. Deserve it.
Yeah, those
refs.
Some things are deserved, is all I'm saying.
I'll tell you something else, Noah, that'll blow your mind, but this is where the old man gets to tell the young kid how you guys are turning into a bunch of, sissies who can't handle stuff, and stuff used to be different when football was a man's game. I grew up going to games at Municipal Stadium where there were no rules. people would carry kegs in dog houses, throw Alpo cans and dog biscuits. My dad played football at Benedictine in Miami of Ohio, about 6'9", 275. He had a part-time job working the Browns games on the visitors' sideline. Got to meet Mike Ditka, Bill Cowher, the list goes on and on. The number of things he told me he got said to him and thrown at him as he was walking the opponent players off the field at the old stadium would probably make your hair curl. I kid you not. Like, that was, if that whole scene happens in 1978, we probably don't even know about it. Like, pro football was different in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. I just don't know how else to say it. It was wild.
This wasn't the early 90s, though, to be fair. This was post-expansion, and it's just crazy to me. I mean,
this was early 2000s.
What did I say?
I said
post-expansion. You said, yeah, I thought you were comparing it to early 90s. Anyway,
this was a spillover. Yeah, not too long after that. So
yeah, that point doesn't matter. It's still to me like, I don't know, man. That's another rough moment as a Cleveland fan to look at. It's up there with the Deshaun Watson cheering, booing, whatever you want to call that moment.
Oh, the injury.
I think it's on the injury. I think it's just a rough moment, man. It is a rough look for us as a city who is a passionate fan base that I don't think typically acts super out of character, but there's definitely examples there in history.
Yep.
Gentlemen, we've had a fun, really good show, and I think it's time to wrap things up like we always do, which is final thoughts and takes. John, you've been hosting all these segments, so why don't you go first with your final hot take?
Yeah, there was thanks, E. Shout out to the other Erik with a K, Erik S., who commented this. He almost damn near stole my exact thunder. I was going to say, as the resident hockey guy who keeps our eyes on what's going on, while the NBA is showing you how great a regular season can be and how bad you can screw up All-Star Weekend, the NHL is reminding everybody how awesome All-Star Weekend can be. When they broke into the 4 countries, I wasn't 100% sure how it was going to go, but watching the United States and Canada drop gloves 3 times off the opening face-off in that matchup, and then the USA go on to win 3-1, and how it teed everything up for the weekend, that was really exciting and really fun to watch. And I spent most of my week not watching actual All-Star Weekend, but watching Kobe and Stephon Marbury go back and forth, or Jordan and Iverson go back and forth, and remembering what the All-Star game used to be. At this point, I'm almost to the point where I say the NBA should scrap it all together. I guess keep trying, incentivize the players. You can't get rid of it, but shout out to the NHL for showing everybody what, even though they are not a main 3, I think, as Erik put it earlier, in the 4th major sport in the U.S., maybe 5th behind golf, depending on who you ask and what ratings metric you use. They are reminding everybody what the best All-Star Weekend in all of professional sports looks like. So shout out to them.
And those fights were awesome.
You know it has broken the sports world when it's something I know exactly what you're talking about, and it revolves around hockey. If I'm going to put myself on blast, I couldn't tell you who won the Stanley Cup last year, just because it isn't a sport I pay attention to. I pay attention to my basketball, football, and baseball. But the fact that I know what's going on with this what's it called, the face off of the nations, or whatever the hell branding they came up with, and it's fantastic. It really is. I commend that.
You make a good point. I don't think I can pick the Stanley Cup winner either. I know Tampa Bay won it recently.
Yeah.
Hold on.
And Vegas won it recently.
Was it the Panthers? Wasn't it the Florida Panthers?
Yeah.
It might have been.
Yeah. Florida. It was Florida.
Okay, look at me. I do know my outside of the major 3 and college football.
The reason I paused is because I played Edmonton. I was rooting my ass off for Edmonton. I don't really have anything against Florida, but I digress.
The Oilers. All right, Noah, give me your final hot or normal, spicy, whatever take.
So I'm not saying this to contradict my whole Abdul Carter argument, because I still stand by what I said and what I think is best for the Cleveland Browns. I will say, however, as my hot take, because it makes it hot with what I said earlier in the show, it feels great to be wanted by a quarterback at the very least. All of the courting he's done, talking about how he plays with us in Madden and how he's excited for his first only us in Madden
plays
at
with
that.
us. Yeah.
Those things do get me excited. And, I'm not worried about the Dion media circus. If anything, he has been prepped his whole life for an NFL football career, whether it be training with some of the best coaches, staff, this, that, and the third. And, I got to tie it with my sneakerheads too, because there's a Deion Sanders shoe that has been popular and they've been, releasing them as cleats and stuff. And I can't wait till that Shedeur orange and brown colorway comes out if they decide that is the route we're going to take. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Listen, I can't give you crap. I think I contradict myself all the time on this show.
Fair.
All right, I'll wrap things up by saying that February is Black History Month, and I think that it's important. Sometimes we get serious on the show once in a while, but I think it's important that we encourage a broader understanding of the central role that Black people have played in shaping the United States narrative, and those stories, and ensuring that those stories and voices aren't marginalized. That's the point of Black History Month. And I came across this video of Reggie Jackson from earlier this year talking about his experience playing in Birmingham in 1967. He was one of the only Black players at the time, and I thought I have to share this with the show. So I'm just going to play a small clip from it. I want you guys to go and watch this and watch the full. It's about 3.5 minutes, but take a look.
Reggie, the baton has been passed for over a century here. We've been talking earlier about if it wasn't for the Willie Mays, the Jackie Robinson, the Reggie Jacksons, the three of us wouldn't have an opportunity to play. How emotional is it for you to come back to a play that you played with one of the greatest teams around?
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke, and they said, you think you're a better person? You think you won when you played here and conquered? I said,
I want everybody to go watch that, but the point that I really want to make here is that he's talking about 1967. It's not that long ago. I mean, this is recent history, and he talks about what he went through as a ball player and how, the team would go into a restaurant and they would say, you can't eat here. And he was really thankful that he had teammates and a manager that backed him and said, fine, we'll go eat at a different place, kind of thing. But what the Black players had to go through, and not just in baseball, but in any league, and then, in life in America, period, it's something that everybody should understand, because those things run deep in this country. And it's an important note that we touch on it and we understand that and we learn more about it. There's the historian and the 14th secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, Lonnie G. Bunch III, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's actually the first African-American secretary. He said that there's no more powerful force than a people steeped in their history, and there's no higher cause than honoring our struggle and ancestors by remembering. And I think that's what we do with Black History Month. Gentlemen, do you have anything to add before we wrap up?
No, well said, man.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate you bringing a deeper perspective to the show, as you often do. I think it's very important. So I want to give you credit for that as well.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up. You've been listening to At the Office, sponsored by D&D Meadery. Be sure to follow us on all of our social pages, which can be found at The Office CLE. That's The Office CLE. And you have yourselves a good night.